Thank you for coming. Yesterday evening, when I went to Bray Garda Station to pick up Gemma from after her ordeal, I was in the main hall of the Garda Station, and I noticed that there were two documents in frames on the wall, and one of them was the Garda framework document, which outlines the values of An Garda Síochána, which are all about care and for the community and love and kindness and all of this sort of stuff. And the other was the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, either side of a door, and both had been adorned with a dog-eared COVID poster so that you could read neither document. And that about says it all. COVID, the word COVID, the very idea of COVID has been used to wipe out the rights and freedoms of the Irish people in a way that they appear to be unable to question, because it is for their own good, for the sake of their health, to stop them dying, to keep them healthy, to keep them safe. And it seems that in the interests of keeping the Irish people safe, it is okay to brutalise them in the way that Jim O'Doherty was brutalised yesterday by a man who shouldn't any longer be a Garda Síochána because he doesn't wear his number anyway. He refuses to wear his number on his lapel. But his name will go down in infamy. Sergeant Waldron, remember that name. He is the face. He is the face of the thuggery that has descended upon the world in the guise of health care under COVID-19. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you a fairy story, and this is kind of an appropriate place to tell you a fairy story, but I won't say why. This is, once upon a time, there was a truth factory that lay on the outskirts of a great city. And in that factory, the truth was created and dispersed to the population, to the people. It was sent out on a beautiful mask, like an Irish Eiffel Tower, out to the people. When I was a young journalist in Dublin, for many years I came to this truth factory, not to become famous, not to have arguments with other so-called famous people, but in order to create discussions that the people might hear them and be informed and allowed to think about the shape of their society. But something has happened to the truth factory. What happened was that the truth ceased to be profitable in terms of the business model that was being operated by the owners, the controllers of the truth factory. So that one day they realized that not alone were they not making any profits anymore from the truth, but they were experiencing deficits. This year, 30 million euros it is projected the truth factory in front of us, the former truth factory, it was going to lose. Now, at some point in the not too distant past, there was a meeting somewhere inside in that building in which this problem was discussed, and it was decided for certain that they needed to change the nature of their product because the truth was no longer profitable, and they decided on a course of action that they had a new customer, which was not the Irish people seeking truth. It was the government of Ireland seeking to peddle its lies. And so, my friends, very sadly, the truth factory became a lie factory. It became an industrial producer of lies, which turned on the Irish people and sought to terrorize them. For the last 6 months, this institution here and the people who work in it, and they are all to blame because nobody has spoken out. It's all very well saying they're innocent people who are just doing their jobs, but unless they stand up and say, "Not me," then they are equally to blame. And nobody in this institution has stood up to say what we are telling you is lies. Even last week, one of their number was caught among the 81 luminaries of Clifton with his trousers down, so to speak. The trousers of his hazmat suit, I mean, of course. And when he was asked to explain himself, he did not say what was in his heart, which is very simple. The reason I was there, the reason I played golf, the reason I ate my dinner, the reason I had fun with all those guys that I was with, was that I was not afraid. Because there was nothing to fear. Because I knew there was nothing to fear. Because I knew that we had been telling lies for the previous 5 months. And this is my opportunity to say now, please, to the Irish people, forgive me. I needed to pay my bills. I regret it. But instead he grovelled. He beat his breast. He confessed about the terrible crime he had committed in Clifton of eating a dinner which cost even more than €9. And so, and you know what happened in the end? Was he forgiven? No. Was he given a pat on the back and said, "Thank you for your frankness, thank you for your witness"? No, no, no. What happened to this individual was the same thing that happened at the end of all the Síol trials in the Soviet Union. When the person who was required to confess his sins was dragged before the public, and he beat his breast and he confessed his sins and he paid tribute to the integrity and truthfulness of the party, and then he was hanged. And this is what happened, I'm sorry to say, to our friend. He too was hanged, although like the hazmat suit, it is a metaphorical hanging. His name is Sean O'Rourke.
His wife works for.
And his wife worked for the former Minister for Justice, Mr. Charlie Flanagan, who was appallingly attacked at the ploughing championship last year by a far-right man who I see before me. There is a far-righter. The Minister for Justice was asked a hard question, which he had never before experienced in his life, in public life in Ireland, because his wife's husband worked in RTE. That's how it works, my friends. That's how it works. In all these little involuted connections, we are all on the same side. We are all together in this, as they say. Together for yes, together for no, together for maybe, together for whatever. They are always together. But we are together too. And we are together for the truth now. And we come here to these gates today, although we are prohibited from entering. We come here as owners of this property. We come here to call to order the custodians of this property, this former truth factory, which was once graced by great broadcasters. Great broadcasters, people like Kevin O'Kelly, Donegal Dooling. Lots and lots of people who gave great joy to the Irish people, but also gave the truth. Kevin O'Kelly went to jail for the truth 50 years ago. Like Jim O'Doherty yesterday, he was locked up for the truth. But he got back and he continued to work in RTE because at that time it was a truth factory. Whereas now, today, people like Jim O'Doherty and myself are not allowed to cross the threshold. But we do not come here beseeching admittance. We come here to call this organisation to order. There is an article in the bowels of the RTE website today. It went up yesterday. And this article, which you cannot find without knowing a certain word or a certain acronym, it cannot be found, but it is there. And this is the way they do it. They say, they hide it away, they hide the truth away, and they say, but there it was there all the time. This is an article by George Lee, for it was he. And this article explains that the CSO figures released during the week reveal that the death toll from COVID has now decreased to something like 850 people, from 1,773, which RTE, in every other article, which you can find very easily on its website, continues to tell us is the number. And which the gov.ie website continues to tell us is the number. And which the hse.ie website tells us is the number. But the real number is something like 850, and it is falling fast. So you better get in there and read that article while there is still any number in it, because I promise you, give it 6 months and that number will be zero, because that is the actual number of people who have died from COVID-19. It is a lie. It is a lie that has destroyed the lives of millions of people all over the world and in Ireland. Not alone the livelihoods of people, but the very sanity of people. Good, decent people trusting this organisation because once it housed great broadcasters who could be trusted, believed what they were being told, and hid away terrified in their homes, afraid to go out even into the garden, for fear an aerosol might blow over and strike them dead. Because Fergal Bowers told them that was what was going to happen. It is an absolute crime, my friends. It is the crime of the century. We need to get cut to the chase here and stop the equivocation and the arguing about little bits and pieces on the fringes of this. This is the greatest lie that has ever been told in our country. And we do not know for certain. And that lie is being enforced by the kind of thuggery we saw yesterday down the In11, where people are terrorised, are beaten, they are abused, they have their property taken, they are treated like criminals, because they insist on telling the truth about the lie. I have often noticed, when I read articles about this from this building, about meetings they have in RTE, never about the role of RTE in Ireland, never about how well RTE is doing its job, never about how it might better serve the Irish people, always about the conditions and the wages of the people who work in this institution. And we know all about the people, we read it regularly, the numbers, the bingo numbers that are paid to people of no talent and less character, who sit in these desks, the apparent successors of the once great broadcasters, who inhabited these buildings, but nothing like them. Their talent is for something entirely different. Their talent is for obedience to their masters. That is why they are paid these huge sums of money. It is not because of their charisma, it is not because of their wit, it is not because of their personalities, it is because they have showed the regime that they can be relied upon to tell the correct lies. The Director General of this institution, God help us, D. Forbes, has said in the recent past that the license fee needs to be doubled. Why? Why? Just in case, she said, because if it is not, then RTE will cease to be relevant to the Irish people. No, my friends, I do apologise for implying previously that everybody in RTE lacks wit or a sense of humour. Clearly, the Director General has a very good sense of humour indeed, because RTE has not represented the Irish people for well over 20 years in any meaningful sense. It has attacked the Irish people, their values, their traditions, their language, their music. It has attacked it in every way. It has undermined the very fabric of our connection with our own country on a daily basis. It has abused us. It has called far right people who actually say the Irish people have preeminence in their own country. Yes. Well, who has, if not the Irish? Yes. But I wouldn't be surprised to hear such things coming out of an organisation which appointed an Englishman who made his name as a journalist, so-called in America, as the head of news and current affairs. This man, at a previous protest outside this gate, came to the protesters, who were fewer in number than today, and said to them, have you people nothing better to do than standing around here protesting about things? And then he kind of thought about it and says, well, I suppose, you know, you have the right to do it, even if you're a bunch of idiots. His is the head of news and current affairs, whom D. Forbes would tell us is relevant to the Irish people. And we need it. John Williams is his name. And you can't find out how much he earns. I know that D. Forbes earns 250,000 plus 63,000 pension contributions and 25,000 per annum for her car. But I assume that John Williams, because his is not being published, even though he's of a lower rank, he's actually paid more than she is. That's my supposition.
And that's taxpayers' money.
And that's all taxpayers' money. It's your money.
Our money.
It's your money. It's our money. We pay them to insult us. We pay them to lie to us. We pay them to abuse us, just as we pay these guards to beat us up from time to time.
No more!
No more!
No more!
No more! No more! So I will finish. 32 years ago, my friends, when RTE was still a respectable broadcaster, I appeared on the Late Late Show as a very young man. I was only 2. And I made a speech on the soapbox that night about why Ireland should repudiate its national debt. Seems like only yesterday. Seems like tomorrow week, actually. And I finished my speech with a line from a movie called Network, in which the great Peter Finch played a broadcaster who was calling his colleagues, calling the people to action against the state of things. And I'll finish with the same words today, my friends. Do you remember that scene when Peter Finch opened the window of his street and started shouting this to the street? And everybody came to their windows and they shouted. And he said, we're mad as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore! We're mad as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore! We're mad as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore! We're mad as hell, and we're not not going to take it anymore.